So tell us a little bit about your campaign against Boeing. Are you going after the board, against the plane? What exactly do you have in mind?
Well, Boeing has been mismanaged for years. It turned itself from an engineering company of high repute into concern for its investment, for its share values, for its compensation for its executives. That led to the wrong decision. Instead of building a new plane, which they planned to do in 2011, they hooked up the 737 MAX on the cheap. It didn't, they said, require pilot training, so they didn't notify the pilots, they didn't notify the airlines, they didn't even notify the FAA of critical information with the software it was designed to fix the instability, the basic prone to stall instability of the 737 MAX. That's why I and others like Professor Lazanik, who just put out a seminal report on the connection between Boeing's investment and ignoring its engineering requirements, have asked for the resignation of Muhlenberg and his officers and the board of directors. You know, if Muhlenberg told the board of directors only the little bit he told the pilots, the airlines, and the FAA, he's in trouble. If he told the board of directors more than he told the FAA pilots and labor and airlines, they're both in trouble. And so I think the leadership of Boeing, notwithstanding its stock value now, which I think will go down to 200 within the year, the management has disinvested in new plane research, development, and production in order to beef up the executive compensation, their share price, and all the other things that Boeing would never have done, including overruling his own engineers, warning about the instability of the 737 MAX.
Ralph, I mean, you've done a number of these crusades over your lifetime, really going back to the 60s and getting the traffic law passed. Is this different because this is personal for you? I believe, was it your niece is involved as a victim in one of these crashes?
Of course, it's more urgent and more heartrending, and we want to try to make air travel for everyone safer, and you can't simply put 5,000 more 737 MAXs up without assuring the traveling public and the airlines of safety. I've seen some of the senators and representatives who are supposed to be investigating this. The Congress is in slow motion. It's got a lot more investigation. The Senate hasn't even demanded that Boeing testify yet. They're waiting for the Lions Air report. And so we're trying to get the House and the Senate Transportation Commerce subcommittees to get moving here. They need to get Boeing on the stand, so to speak. They need to demand full certification of the 737 MAX. That's the next frontier of demand by the families, by aviation safety consultants, and by some upstanding members of Congress. Full certification. It's a new plane. They can't say it's just a little bit changed from the 737 800 NG or other series.
I mean, to the point that you made that the 737 should never fly again, why don't you believe Boeing when it says it can fix the software, or the FAA? I mean, there's clearly going to be a lot of scrutiny on this software fix. They're taking their time in doing so. I mean, they're the experts here, right? Why would they put a plane in the air that would be dangerous after those two crashes?
Because they're stuck in their bad decision. I mean, there's a career conflict now against the interests of the Boeing Corporation itself by Muhlenberg, the CEO, and the board of directors. They can't change course. And the problem is they made a very bad, unstable design decision with the 737 MAX. It's been criticized by many aerospace experts, by ex-Boeing people, and they've just got to take their losses. You can't have a complex software system that tries to anticipate millions of configurations and expect that even if it doesn't have fixed glitches and stitches, and expect it to guide the pilots. The pilots are in charge of the plane. You can't have software with the potential to overpower the pilots and take the control of the plane from the pilots themselves. And so you would think in the interest of Boeing, I've made this point to Senator Wicker and others, that even if they just want to stand for the interests of Boeing, they've got to have tough love here. They can't mess around with the current management and the trajectory to disaster. They cannot afford one more crash, Sarah. Never mind 2 or 3, even in the next 5, 10 years.
Well,
That's due to ignoring preventable aerodynamic design.
Obviously, Boeing would agree with that. Ralph, you talk about taking their losses. They've had no orders on this model for 3 months, and who knows when they'll get another. They've taken a huge charge. So what needs to happen now, separate from management? Can the plane be fixed? Do you think it has to be renamed? I mean, they're not just going to put this thing in the trash can.
The plane cannot be refixed. It has to be recalled and grounded. And whatever they do with it in terms of taking these engines off or reconfiguring it to a more stable plane, you know, they're pretty good at all those adjustments. That's what they have to do. Because otherwise, we put all our marbles in one major monopoly in this country, competing with Airbus. This is what happens when you only have one production of these large passenger aircraft. And they can't afford to make any more mistakes. And I think that the FAA has got to start rigorously investigating under the new head who's about to be confirmed by the Senate, Stephen Dixon from Delta. And the other investigations have to proceed before any decision is made on ungrounding the 737 MAX. That is the criminal probe by the Justice Department, the studies by the National Transportation Safety Board, the congressional inquiries, etc. Not to mention all the civil aviation agencies all over the world. You can't believe, Sarah, David, Carl, you cannot believe what's going on behind the scenes here. You have enormous tensions between Boeing's suppliers, Boeing's customers, how much of the Boeing plane is going to continue to be built in China and be labeled like it's a U.S. aircraft. The upcoming competition for narrow-body passenger planes like the 737, from Japan, from China, from Brazil. All of these things are coming in. How much discounts are going to have to give the airlines because of the delays, the lawsuits with the airlines, the lawsuits with the victim. And these stock analysts are living in a cocoon, thinking that Boeing is going to bounce back on this. It's not going to happen. And what we've got to do is separate mismanagement from the future well-being of Boeing and aerospace travel and safety in the future.